Россию хотят снять не только наши соотечественники, но и режиссеры со всего мира. Правда, для них это гораздо более сложное мероприятие.
Индейское кино о Карелии.
Это было все очень мистическое.
Что за фильм, где и когда его можно будет увидеть?
Это очень такое сложное, масштабное мероприятие.
Режиссер и потомственный индеец.
Он называет себя охотником за легендами.
Дик О'Харри.
Здравствуйте.
An ancient Greek legend tells about a kingdom in the north where the sun didn't go down. The people were free from sickness. They did not fight or made wars like we do, and they lived to be 1,000 years. The Greek calls this kingdom Hyperborea.
For the ancient Greek people, Hyperborea was not a legend. It was a real country, a virtual place where people lived. They said it was the country beyond the north wind. You see, that's how they described countries before. They were not so smart like us running around with Google Maps. They said it was a country where the sun didn't go down for almost half a year. The people were giants. They know no sickness or diseases. They didn't get old. They didn't fight or made war like we do. So it was ideal, knowledgeable, and very advanced kingdom. They even said that Apollo, the Greek god himself, went there very often to visit them, to rest from our world of trouble, misery, and wars. So where was this Hyperborea then?
Many countries in Europe and in Asia claim to be the location of this kingdom. But from our knowledge of the planet now, and from the Greek descriptions, we know exactly that if this kingdom existed, then it must have been somewhere around the Arctic Circle in Northern Europe, where the sun doesn't go down the whole summer. From all the traces we found, and from all the theories that I've heard, what makes more sense to me, more than anything else, that this kingdom must have been somewhere near the White Sea, in the far northwest of Russia.
Now I need to get this car ready to go searching for the traces of the lost kingdom.
So today, I'm on a journey from the Republic of Karelia, along the White Sea, all the way to the Arctic Circle, in search of traces of Hyperborea, or what the Russians call Hyperborea. My first stop is a hidden place near the town of Belomorsk on the White Sea, deep in the Karelian forest. It's early morning, and I gotta speed before those mosquitoes drank my last drop of blood. After hours of walking, I finally reached this rocky plateau in the middle of the forest, a paradise of petroglyphs. For some people, it is a carving of the Hyperboreans.
Доброе утро, Nadezhda.
Доброе утро. So this is Zalavruga.
How many petroglyphs we have here? About?
According to my calculation, it exceeds 2,000 separate figures.
2,000?
Yes? Yeah, over.
And what is
And
this?
this is very mystical, but not real human. Maybe it was a kind of spirits. He has 3 fingers,
Only 3 fingers, yeah.
and this is a kind of sign.
How old do you think these petroglyphs are?
Very old, between 6,000-7,000. The first petroglyphs which were discovered here is over there. It's a boat. And here is very interesting thing. 2 women, they're pregnant, and they have very powerful.
You know, they say in the mythology that Hyperborea was the land of the giants. That's what they say, you know?
And this is Kama Sutra, our famous Kama Sutra.
Kama Sutra.
Karelian Kama Sutra.
What material do you use for carving this as a sign?
Quartz. It's
Quartz.
the only stone material which is suitable to carve. Only.
Do they have
They
quartz in this area?
didn't know metal, any metal. A lot of quartz. Here we can see these deposits.
Do you think they try to make this delivered for us? I don't think so.
I think they were thinking of us also.
Really?
Yeah.
The myth of Hyperborea. Hyperborea, what you call it in Russian.
Hyperborea, yes.
What do you think about it personally?
I think it's a really myth, and nobody knows where this Hyperborea could be.
Nadezhda believes that this place is nothing but a school for young hunters where they learn how to hunt on land and in the sea, even how to ski. And those petroglyphs are their books where they sat around to study. And so Hyperborea ain't got nothing to do with it. Ironically enough, we know now scientifically that nothing from our culture or so-called civilization would remain with all what we created from concrete, steel, paper, or digital media. Nothing would remain except whatever we carved on rocks. It was the first, and it will be the last.
From Belomorsk, I'm heading all the way west through the beautiful forest of Karelia to one of the most powerful places in the Republic. It's really not an easy drive. You have to go through this dense forest and the many, many rivers.
After heavy driving in the forest of Karelia, I'm finally in the far west of the Republic, close to the Finnish border, and one of the most mysterious places, I think. The people, they call this place the Votavara. It's an old name from the Sami language. And to me, this place looks very much like it was connected to the work of the Hyperborean tribe. It's a long and steep climb into Votavara, and along the way, people leave all kind of different offerings and sacrifice for the spirits. Jewelry, money, even sugar cubes, you name it.
Oh, I thought it's a garbage bag. No, it's not. It's a bag of sacrifice. They have spaghetti inside, not cooked. And what is that? Another sacrifice. No, that's not sacrifice. That's a real garbage now. Maybe some tourists come here.
Votavara is a huge rocky plateau on top of one of the unique mountains in Karelia, with millions of strange-looking rocks in all kinds of sizes and shapes.
There are so many huge rocks like this scattered all around the place. Those rocks are sacred for the Sami people. They call them Sied or Siete. They believe that the spirit lives in them. And lots of people believe that those ancient rituals come from the Hyperboreans, but no one can really tell. And there's one huge sieta here, which they say if you lie under it, you can collect lots of energy. And that's what I'm gonna do. And because of these rocks, lots of people believe that here is ancient Hyperborea. You see, it's about 60 tons heavy and standing on these little small rocks. So it must have been come here by somebody. It did not come to this position by itself.
Scientists have totally different explanation for this rock phenomena. They say 10,000 years ago there was a glacier here, and when it retreated, it left behind it heaps of stones, big and small, on top of each other. And when the water went under them, it took away all the loose stones, and what remain are really the stones which are supporting the big rock, and Hyperborea ain't got nothing to do with it.
And this is the most famous and sacred rock in the whole Votavara. They call it the Uku, which means in the Old Finnish language, the grandfather, or also it is the god of thunder. It's a very sacred for shamans from all over the world. Everybody comes here. They believe they get more knowledge and they get more enlightened. So I hope that will happen to me too.
If you look carefully and with a bit of fantasy at the back of the Uku rock, you can see that it looks like a mask. And the people here, they call it the Sphinx of the Votavara.
And this is what they call the amphitheater of the Votavara. It looks like a natural amphitheater, but for lots of people, they believe it's a man-made. It has been dug out here by the Hyperboreans.
Only on this mountain the trees grow in a very strange, twisted and in spooky shapes, which gives Votavara a reputation of being place of dark evil forces, where beg and practice the rituals, maybe the gateway between this world of living and the world of the dead. And that's maybe why the Sami people call it the Mountain of Death.
From the Votavara, I went all the way east again to the White Sea, to the small town of Ropotchostrovsk. Very difficult name for me to pronounce.
And now I'm leaving the mainland of Karelia, heading to the famous Slovetsky Islands in the White Sea. It takes about 4 hours sailing, but it's a beautiful sunny day today.
The White Sea is an inlet of the Parent Sea in the Arctic Ocean, far northwest of Russia. The White Sea is totally within the territory of the Russian Federation. It is one of the 4 seas which are named after color, like the Black Sea, the Red Sea, the Yellow Sea, and here is the White Sea.
Halfway between the mainland of Karelia and the Slovetsky island and Arkhangelsk Oblast, I had to stop on a small but very mysterious uninhabited island, very much connected to the theories of Hyperborea. It is called Kuzava. Russians call this island Немецкая Kuzava, which means German Kuzava. When I asked the locals why, they told me a very strange story. Hitler used to come here very often. He came to this island, spent a few days all by himself, and then he went back. We all know that Hitler was a seeker and very ambitious. He was looking for something big, for himself and the world, I guess. So they believe that he came to this particular island in search of traces of the mighty Hyperborea kingdom that maybe could help him to rule the world. True or not, we will never know.
The island of Kuzava has so much rocks. Rocks are scattered everywhere. And lots of people believe that those rocks are the remain of the ancient kingdom of Hyperborea. What makes them believe that? Well, because they have discovered here a disc, a stone disc, which looks exactly like a disc which is pictured in one of the ancient Egyptian temples. It is the temple of Edfu. And that makes them believe that the ancient Egyptians knew about the kingdom of Hyperborea, and they had contact with them, and they exchanged knowledge and culture. The local people of the White Sea, they have their own legend about those huge rocks. They say in the 17th century, the Swedes wanted to take the monastery of Slovetsky. Like they always tried and they always failed. So they sent an army here. But the army got stranded in this little island because of a storm. At night, the soldiers realized that they have been watched and there's armies around them everywhere. So they wanted to retreat, but they couldn't do it. So from a lot of fear, they turned into rocks.
That would make these rocks only 300 years old. I am not sure about that. But on the island there are lots of other strange rock formations. Some of them look like pyramids. Some looks like a star observatory, and no one really knows who set them like this. You have to climb top of one of the mountains here to really have an idea of how is the area around the island looks like. and also to understand how these rocks look from the distance. It is really amazing, and maybe that's why lots of people believe it is the ruins of Hyperborea.
The Slovetsky Atoll in the White Sea consists of 6 small islands. My first stop is in one of the smallest of them. It is called Balshoi Zayetsky, and if you translate the name, it means the big rabbit. Don't ask me why. But lots of people believe that on this island there is a big evidence of the existence of Hyperborea.
So what are those evidences? It is because of those stone labyrinths. There are 14 of them on this island. They vary from 6 to 25 meters in diameters, and nobody really knows who made them, how old they are, or what they were built for. Some say they were trapped for fish, since they are all standing close to the shore. Others, they say they were for guiding sailors in the sea. Others believe they were for spiritual rituals, or maybe an entrance to the underworld. And the labyrinth shape is to make sure that the soul of the dead won't find its way back to the world of the living. The age of those labyrinths is a huge mystery for us. Some people think that they are thousands of years old. Others, and mostly scientists, believe that they are only a few hundred years. But still, for lots of people, they are certainly remains of the Hyperboreans.
This is the biggest and the most famous island on the Slovetsky Atoll. It is called the Balshoi Slovetsky, or the Big Slovetsky. And it's very famous because of this church. This church, the Slovetsky monastery, it was built in the 15th century. And in less than 100 years, it became the richest church or institute all over Russia. I don't know how that happened, but that's another story, you know. Anyway, wealth brings a curse with it. So being wealthy, it became like everybody wanted to take the church. So it's been attacked by everybody, by the Swedes, by the Norwegians, all the different tribes of the north. And for this, they had to build this wall around it. It was built by Ivan the Terrible. So it became not only a church, but a fortress. What makes this monastery unique, at least for me, that it has not always been a monastery. This monastery has been something totally different in different periods. It has been from 1921 until 1939 a gulag.
Lots of people died here during Stalin Purge.
What is a gulag? We all know the term gulag in Russia as a prison, but actually it's not a normal prison. Here they call it a prison camp. So they did not keep the normal criminals here like thieves and murderers. No, they kept like the political opponents and political activists and people like this. I think that maybe the young Soviet Union thought that this is the only way to keep the country going after the breaking of the kingdom and the fall of the Tsar. But I cannot judge this. I'm just not a politician. I must say that being here in this beautiful atoll, ancient monastery, history, wars, gulags and all, it raised tons of emotions inside me. A lot of them about the world we live in and how we treated each other. I mean, animals never treat each other so bad like we did. And we still do.
Now I'm back on land and heading north, crossing the polar circle to the famous Kola Peninsula.
This is the little town of Kandalaksha in the southern part of the Kola Peninsula. And now I'm taking this boat to take me to some spot out in the White Sea where lots of people believe there is a remain of Hyperborea. So let's see. And this is what lots of people believe is a remain of Hyperborea, a stone leopard. There are so many of these stone circles along the White Sea coast, and nobody really knows what they've been used for. For Hyperborea seekers, they believe that those stone circles are thousands of years, even though some scientists believe that they're only a few hundred years old. Those bare mountains here are the highest mountain range in the Kola Peninsula. They call the Khibini Mountains. And they are among all the places where the traces of Hyperborea has been found. I believe they were standing right in the middle of the kingdom of Hyperborea.
These mountains are not particularly high. The highest peak here is only 1,200 meters above the sea level. Still, they are covered with snow even in the summer sometimes. But that's due to the very far north altitude of the Kola Peninsula.
And here on the foot of the Khibini mountain, in the little town of Kirovsk, there is this abandoned railway station from the Soviet Union time. Must have been a beautiful building, seen much better times than now.
Теперь не надо бояться человека в съем, потому что он защищает трудящихся и будет беспощаден в подавлении господства эксплуататоров.
The Kola Peninsula is home of the last reindeer herders in the world. They have been living here above the Arctic Circle for thousands of years. You find them in Norway, Sweden, Finland, and in Russia. They are called Sami people, and today I am on their territory.
Откуда ты?
Я сама здесь живу уже 60 лет, а так...
Ну откуда?
Слышали, Вологодская область.
А, это далеко.
Далеко оттуда. Рождение оттуда, а тут уже 60 с лишним, почти 70 лет живу.
И почему здесь?
А вот так судьба нас раскидала, что пришлось ехать.
Добрый день.
Добрый день.
До свидания. До свидания. This little town is called Love Ozero. I could not find an explanation of the name. Ozero means lake. I don't know what love means. Maybe it's a love lake. My translation. Anyway, this little town is the capital of the Sami people in the heart of the Kola Peninsula. And as you see, they're not living in the tundra anymore, herding reindeers as we think. No, they're living in houses and in flats. Life have changed.
But there are still some Sami people living in the forest around Lake Ozero, and that's what I want to see.
Поехали, my friend.
Let's go.
Let's go.
In this forest lives only two people, an old Sami man with his wife and few reindeers, since most of the animals are now on the tundra for the summer.
Здравствуйте. Hello.
Вот, о, здесь для нашего роста вон.
Oh, нет.
Цвет вон.
Нет, важно. Хорошо, хорошо.
Ага.
Yeah. Большое.
Да.
Over the years, the Sami people had managed to domesticate most of the wild reindeers into their farms. But I don't think it's fair to those poor animals, though.
Я местный. Местный.
А, местный?
Да. Я здесь родился.
А, сколько лет живут здесь?
Мне 70 лет уже.
So they live out in the small house there, and they have a chum in the back, which is like an American Indian teepee, where they have the fire, where they make the rituals, I think. Very nice, very peaceful place here. У нас делаю фильм снимаю. Hyperborea. Well, okay. Хорошо?
Как
Сейчас?
бритва будет, как
О.
бритва.
Это чум, а? Самый чум.
Да. Вот мы раньше жили в таком, спали минус 40 зимой, минус 40.
Минус 40 градусов.
Минус 42 спали в таком.
У нас то же самое. Типи, чум.
Да, видели в кино-то.
Да.
Но там был высокий, у нас пошире.
Вкусный, мой парень. Очень вкусный. Работа, женщина?
Индейцы тоже так же живут. Я вот фильмы люблю.
То же самое. То же самое, да. They have two kids. One of them drowned in the lake years back, and the other one, he lives in St. Petersburg. For young people, even for young Sami people, they don't like this life anymore. They became modern, and the whole world is changing. Not to the best, I think. For me, I rather this life. Yes, let's go.
Раньше жили зимой, летом в Коваксе.
How was that? Николай, спасибо большое. Спасибо. До свидания. Спасибо большое. Спасибо. Спасибо. До свидания. Спасибо, my commie friend.
Давай.
Love Ozero is about 40 kilometers long and about 10 wide. And now I have to cross it all the way in the rain.
Пожалуйста. Мiguel, спасибо, мама. Спасибо. I just sailed 40 kilometers to the other side of Love Ozero. Here I will start my long trekking in the forest to a hidden mysterious lake called Syed Ozero, or the Sacred Lake. After hours and hours of walking in the forest, I am finally on the shore of the Syed Ozero. In the beginning of the 20th century, Alexander Pachenko, a Russian scientist, took an expedition around this lake in search for Hyperborea. He knew that this place is the most sacred place for the Sami people, and therefore they must know something about this kingdom. Rumors say that he made an astonishing discoveries of huge caves and tunnels under the lake,
But unfortunately, his research has been stopped by the government. His discoveries were declared top secret, never revealed to the people, and he himself was shot in the late 30s.
There is no life at all at the moment around the Sid Ozera. You have to walk for miles in the forest. You see, it was only permitted for the Sami people shamans to come here. So I'm lucky to be here today. On the other hand, it's very difficult to go around it because there's no roads or tracks or anything. It would take days of walking in the rain. So I struck a deal with the ranger of the forest here to take me with his own boat and show me some spots on the lake.
The Sami legend about this lake tells about the giant monster who always attacked and killed the Sami people, and they were helpless against him. So they came to this sacred lake, prayed for the god for help. And then the story goes that God listened to the prayer and stroked the giant monster, burned him into the wall of the mountains over the lake. And that's what we see now. Kuiva.
There are so many rock formations on the Kola Peninsula, like this one here, huge rocks. For the seekers of Hyperborea, this is traces of the ancient kingdom, even though the scientists believe that this is just only the work of nature. Still, people like to come here and make the little towers and their big, big wishes. Following the traces of Hyperborea, now I'm on the top of the Kola Peninsula, where I am in the city of Murmansk. Murmansk is the biggest city in the world above the polar circle. There are 300,000 people are living here, and this city is covered under a coat of darkness for almost 4 months through the winter. Where now in summer, the sun doesn't go down. It's after midnight, and it looks like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So it must be strange to live in a place like that.
This huge monument standing on the top of the hill over Murmansk, it's called Alosha, or the soldier Alexei. It is the second highest monument in whole Russia, after the monument of Mother Russia calls, which is stand in Volgograd. Alosha represents the fierce resistance that Murmansk showed against the Germans in the Second World War. It gives the Russian lots of dignity.
Murmansk is also a home of the first and the biggest nuclear icebreaker in the world. It is called Lenin. Lenin was launched in 1957, and it has been in service until 1989. Now it is finally retired here in its hometown.
The eternal fire in front of Alosha is there to glorify the unknown soldiers who had fallen in the war. I'm finally on the top of the Kola Peninsula, far above the White Sea, driving further from the fjord of Murmansk to the area of Tereberka on the coast. The village of Tereberka in itself is not a very particular place, but the area around it is so magnificent. Lakes, waterfalls, and breathtaking wild coast. Something that does my soul very good. It's also here where I had my first glimpse of the Barents Sea, the mother of the White Sea. A new theory suggests that Hyperborea will never be found, for one simple reason. Because it is under the sea. Under this sea. Scientifically, we know that 15,000 years ago, this area of the Arctic Ocean was not as cold as it is now. There was land and it was suitable for habitant, so probably people lived here before it was flooded and it went under the sea. They support the theory by the satellite images we have now, which shows what looks like valleys and river deltas beneath the Arctic Ocean. Another argument they use is the annual bird migration to the north. They say that it's in the bird's memory to come back each year to their ancestor homeland, like animals mostly do, even though it's now flooded and under the water. So could it be that I'm gazing now at mighty Hyperborea? So many traces and so many theories about Hyperborea. Still, no one can say for certain if this kingdom existed or not.
But I believe humans will always search for Hyperborea, for one simple reason. Because for us it is a dream world. It is our thought of salvation and happiness from this terrible world of hate, anger, and fight that we created. So I think Hyperborea will always exist, even if it's only in our fantasy.